everybody! Welcome to Beach Theory!
Woohoo!
Today's episode is going to be very, very fun. Do you know what we're going to talk about today, Rebecca?
I actually don't know what we're going to talk about.
Okay, we are going to talk about my mission. We're season 2, and now we're talking about my mission.
Okay.
So the last episode we talked about the MTC.
Okay.
And how crazy that was.
And if you didn't listen to that episode, Michael went on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he did service for 2 years. He even had to pay to do it. So it's something that you have to be in the right headspace to do it. You can't just go and have fun. It's like it's work and it's thrilling and it's an adventure, and you don't know where you're going to get called. And he ended up getting called to Salt Lake City South Mission.
That's right.
From Florida.
It was middle of June 2006.
And that was an interesting thing because the headquarters of the church are in Salt Lake City. So getting a mission call to Salt Lake City is very weird to a lot of church members because they're like, you went where? Like from Provo to Salt Lake, which is like, you didn't even leave the state. But most of the time, the people that serve in Utah are from out of the state.
Yeah, every missionary in my mission was not from Utah.
Except for people who are like in the state, might have like disability or something. So they go to work at either Temple Square or the MTC sometimes. So I guess there's some exceptions, but mostly it's from people who are not from Utah at all.
That's right. And I wanted to go foreign. I wanted to go to Thailand. I was like, if Thailand, I don't go to Thailand, that's fine. I maybe at least want to go to Asia. I think that'd be cool. Maybe Africa. You know, I wasn't really interested in South America, but I got called to Salt Lake City South. So in the last episode, I talked about going to the Missionary Training Center and learning about how to be a missionary, how to teach the gospel.
You know why you got called?
Why?
You got called to Salt Lake City because Heavenly Father knew you were going to marry me, and he knew that you needed to be used to Utah already.
That's right.
Because I was going to be enough getting used to by myself.
I agree with that. So, yeah, it was definitely a different world, different culture, right? Like, so I went from Florida, where I was raised, and I was in the MTC for 3 weeks, which really is just a whole bunch of missionaries learning how to teach the gospel. Even though it was in Provo, Utah, I didn't really feel like I was in Utah because I wasn't living in society. And then we literally took a bus from the MTC to my mission office, which was in Sandy, Utah. And then my first area that I was called to serve in was Kearns, Utah. And I was in Kearns, Utah
which was a huge upgrade from Florida.
Kearns? Well, everybody always joked that Kearns was like the armpit of Utah, the ghetto of Utah.
And it really is, though.
And relative to other cities in Utah, sure.
Isn't it close to West Valley? Or is
it's
it
right next door to West Valley.
Yeah.
Which
West
is also
Valley is also called the armpit of Utah, so that makes sense.
The
They're
ghetto,
right next door to each other.
Right? But I grew up in Florida. So, but growing up in Florida and seeing what the real life ghetto looks like. And there's a lot of big cities in the world, LA and Chicago, like New York. There's a lot of cities in the world that have some very sketchy places, and Kearns, Utah was not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, but compared to the rest of Utah, it was.
Right. And so...
because Utah's amazing.
Utah's a fantastic state.
It's very safe, and it's very...
It took me
clean
years
and beautiful
to appreciate Utah. Very long time to get used to it.
Now he's too stuck. He loves it so much.
But there's places in Kearns that people that are native to Utah would be like, oh, I'd never go on that street. That's so scary and sketchy. And as a missionary, I'm like, coming from Florida, I'm like, this isn't scary at all.
Did you have other missionaries that were like nervous around?
No, because nobody was from Utah. We all knew what the real ghetto looked like. And it was not Kearns.
That's why they have to get people outside of Utah to come to Utah. Otherwise, they'd be like, I'm not going there.
Or because then their girlfriend will come visit them all the time.
That's the other thing. And their family. So I guess
Speaking
that's
of
a good
girlfriend
point.
to come visit them all the time, this is actually a really funny story and applicable to my first area.
Did we not tell this story already?
I don't think so.
Well, if we did, then you
so
get to
the
hear it
girl
twice.
on my mission the girl that I dated as a teenager before my mission, we dated for 2 years. As soon as I'd been out on my mission for maybe a couple of months, so I was just new out on my mission. I got a letter from her basically saying
they call it a Dear John,
that she was going to be dating somebody else now, and he was a missionary serving in Florida. So she met him while he was on his mission in Florida, and they got.
Which is scandalous, by the way.
Yes. Anyway.
Because missionaries are not supposed to like
be interested.
They're really supposed to be focusing on the work, on the being a missionary and like
Teaching
spreading the gospel. And so like to fall in love on your mission is kind of frowned upon. I've heard of a lot of people that have done it though, and they have ended up with wonderful marriages and a wonderful life. Like it's not like it will ruin somebody's life or anything, but it is like, oh,
you did that on you fell in love on your mission.
Yeah.
So anyway, but he was from Utah,
and you can get kicked off your mission.
And I think he did.
Oh,
but he was from Utah, and so they fell in love, and she actually moved to Utah and ended up getting married to him, and living within the boundaries of my mission. So my old girlfriend that I had dated as a teenager moved and was living in my mission boundaries.
It's a small world, I tell you.
And I told all the missionaries, all my buddies, all my missionary friends about it, because it was like this crazy thing that was happening.
You're like, no way. How soon after did she move to Utah after she Dear John'd you?
Probably within a couple of months. And so I told all my companions about it, and we all kind of had our whoa kind of experience. And then what was really crazy is even about a year into my mission, some of the missionaries that I had served with in the MTC met her. They saw her, and they got a picture with her. And then they showed me the picture.
Look at this.
And I was just like, oh my gosh.
I've seen that picture. She was smiling really big, and they were all having a good old time.
I'm pretty sure she was like this with her wedding ring, like that kind of a thing.
It's like, wow. Good thing you were over it by that point, or that would have hurt so bad.
Well, when I first got the Dear John of her breaking up with me, essentially, I was in my first area in Kearns. And when I first got the letter, it really made me feel really sad. Mm-hmm. But I guess in a way it was not unexpected, because she had broken up with me before. Mm-hmm. Remember? And I talked about this in a previous episode of the podcast where we'd been dating for like a year and a half, and she broke up with me, and it was really, really hard for me. Yeah. And I went through this whole grieving thing. So when it happened again on my mission, I felt all those feelings of grief and sadness coming back. And I was like, oh no, I'm feeling it all again. And it really sucked. And I remember it took me a week to get over it last time. So I knelt down and I prayed very earnestly that I would be able to focus on my missionary work and get over it quickly. And within the hour, I felt better. 100%. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I felt 100% like,
your spirit knew you were going to marry me. That's what.
That's right. Oh, thank you. So, it's almost gone.
I know. It's interesting to hear all these stories, and all I think about is, we all go through life with going down different paths that we're like, I don't know if this is going to be the right thing. I don't know if I'm making good choices. Like, it's so scary. It's like you're walking blindly, right? Just hoping that like your life will turn out good, right? And that maybe you'll have made the right decisions, and that things will be for your benefit. And it's just so interesting to me to think about how you were on your mission and you had been dating somebody else, and like before that you made all these mistakes, and like it's perfect how your life went.
Totally.
It's perfect how my life went in our imperfectness.
Yeah.
To lead up to when we met each other, it was all like pieces to a puzzle just fitting together perfectly without our knowledge of it. And I mean, I'm blown away. Any little choice could have spiraled us away from each other in a different direction. Like
totally.
You on a whim decided to come to Utah. Like on a whim you decided to do this and this. Right. Like there's so much that could have gone in a very, very different path. And I'm just like I feel so much peace for my life now looking back. And like I'm so grateful just to think it could have all gone away. Mm-hmm. All the stuff that we have right now, I don't even know where I would be if I wasn't like praying along the way and asking what I should do. Because I feel like because I did that, I really truly believe that because I prayed throughout all the big decisions of my life, and a lot of the small ones too, like, it just led me to exactly where I am right now. And I know for a fact I would not be here if it weren't for that. It's just incredible to me, because there has to be, from my life experience, from everything I know, there has to be godly intervention in my life and in your life, because things just lined up absolutely as they were supposed to, and it was meant to be. And I couldn't have done that. It wasn't my doing at all. You know, like, it was just me asking what I should do and getting little feelings here and there. And I just made what I feel like was the right decisions in each of those times. And they all added up to be exactly what needed to happen, and could not have happened any other way than through the way that I did it, you know.
Totally. Yeah. Amen.
Thanks.
Yeah, if I hadn't served my mission, I don't think we would have ever even met, because of the way the dominoes fall.
Yeah.
But
he's like, trust me, you don't want to go to Thailand. You need to marry this girl.
No, it was the right thing. It was the right place for sure. And so, but I was very scared. I remember my first area.
Can you imagine how much more
being
scared
afraid.
you would have been if you were in a different language?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was ambitious, but I didn't realize what I was trying to bite off. I just remember being terrified of talking to people.
Yeah.
And mostly because I just didn't know what to say. It was like, how do you put yourself in front of somebody and you are the authority and you're just a kid and this is an adult? Like, I didn't know how to answer people's questions or where to find answers in the scriptures. Like, it was so scary. And I remember my trainer, he was trying to get me out of my comfort zone, as he should. And I remember him trying to get me to knock on the first door and talk to this person. And I just didn't want to do it. Like, I remember being like, no, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to. It's too scary.
You're like, I signed up for this, but I didn't sign up for this.
Right.
I don't want to do that.
I was like, I need to see you do it first.
Oh, I would have said the same thing. Like, please, can you do it first, just so I can, like, see
Right.
how you even do it, and then I'll just try and make a mental note and do it myself after.
And I think a lot of missionaries, as they get more experience, they forget that fear, and it almost becomes a joke to try to make the new missionary have to do the scary, hard thing. It's almost teasing in a way,
hazing?
like, right? Like, okay, you're brand new, right out of the MTC. Instead of showing you the right way, I'm going to push you in the deep end.
That just sounds like such a 19-year-old thing to happen, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
not like we're being... At 19, I don't think anybody's really, like, super conscious of that type of a thing. They're just kind of like, jump head in.
Right.
Just jump right
a lot
in.
of these
If you
guys
die,
are-
you die.
A lot of these guys are fresh out of high school,
Yeah.
you know, and they were maybe like the popular kids in school, and they just bring a lot of that popularity contest, you know, I got my group of buddies mentality into the mission field, and playing practical jokes, being a jerk, being a punk, right? That's just still part of the lifestyle. And they haven't really matured and grown out of that phase.
Yeah.
And so while they're in a position of leadership and they should respect that position of authority or power or whatever, a lot of them abuse it and misuse it to make people
'Cause
look bad or make
they're
people feel
young.
bad. Right.
Like, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, they're so young. Like, missionaries they're like babies now.
They are.
But I still feel like I'm 19, but I'm not 19. I'm 30.
And then when you meet a 19-year-old, you're like, nope, I'm 30.
I'm 30. Yeah. I feel like I'm 19. Nope. I'm 30.
At least that's how I feel anyway.
Yeah.
But I know that he had I feel like, looking back, I'm like, no, he had genuinely good interests. He was
Yeah.
trying to help me get out of my comfort zone and do a hard thing. And he actually did help a lot. Like, those first doors when I was too scared to knock, he would do it. you know, and he did a lot of hand holding for me to kind of help me
Okay,
feel
what did a missionary do
more
during the day?
comfortable.
Knock on doors of people they don't know to try and share the gospel.
Well, we'd wake up at 6:30. We'd do personal study from 8 to 9,
Okay.
and then companionship study from 9 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would go out and work from 10 to noon,
Knocking on doors.
knocking on doors, teaching lessons if we
Doing
had appointments,
service.
doing service, whatever.
When two like young handsome missionaries in suits show up to like rake your lawn or something.
If we had a... let us focus on our work. Thank you. Sorry, cut that part out. I try not to have instances of having to cut stuff out.
Anything else you need to say while we still have a cut?
Just
Corbin,
please don't interrupt
what are you
again.
reading? I thought Dad said you were supposed to read
He's got
Chronicles
the right book.
of Narnia.
That is Chronicles of Narnia. Okay, all right.
Oh.
You guys, if you guys are going to be in here, you got to be quiet. Don't talk to us, please. We're trying to get this video done. Thank you. Okay, stay that way. Where was I? Oh, so then at noon we have lunch. Oh, what I was going to say is if we have like a scheduled service project, we didn't have to dress in our suit and tie. We could dress up in our street clothes to go to our appointment.
But if you like saw an old
service.
lady trying to haul in groceries,
Oh yeah, we'd stop
or
and help.
like if you saw, okay.
There was a couple times where we'd see people working out in the yard and we'd be like, hey, can we give you a hand? You know, it's just the default reaction, you know, because we want to help people. And
Yeah.
most of the time they'd be like, no, you're all dressed up fancy. And I'd always say, these are our work clothes. Because that's what we wore all day, every day.
that's
These are our
true.
work clothes. So I didn't ever feel bad getting dirty.
Yeah.
Because honestly, by the end of my mission, I was way more comfortable wearing button-up shirt and a tie than regular clothes were like super uncomfortable for
Yeah.
me. But that's besides the point. Anyway, from 12 to 1, we'd have lunch. Usually I ended up taking a nap because I was exhausted. And then from 1 to 4, we would go work again. 4 to 5 was dinner. And then 5 to 9, we would teach lessons again. That was our day every day. And then at 9, we'd come home. We'd have our planning meeting, and then we'd
Like, what
go
if
to
we
bed.
just tried to do the same thing, except in exchange, like teaching the gospel for, okay, now we're going to work, you know, like now we're going to work on videos. Like, what if we got up the same time, went to bed at the same time, like tried to do all the things a missionary did? What do you think our life would
I'd be willing to do that.
So, get up at what time?
6:30,
Get to bed at what time?
10:30.
That's already so hard. But I would try.
Hey, it was hard my entire mission. Every day for 2 years, it was hard to do that schedule. And going to bed at 10:30 was not hard. I was
Yeah.
exhausted. But getting up at 6:30 was a constant struggle that I never mastered.
Yeah.
I just never got good at it.
Yeah.
Just hard. I'm not good at getting up early, and I was so exhausted every day on my mission.
What days did you, how long did you sleep in? On days that you did sleep in, like when did you, what
I was
hour?
always up in time for personal study at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Always.
So if we got to bed at 10 and got up at 8, that would still be better than what we're
I've
doing
been
right
getting
now.
up at 8. You might not be, but I
Oh,
am.
good job. You're amazing.
And I usually don't give
I always
myself
have
an
a hard
hour
time.
lunch break like I did on my mission.
Yeah.
Now I'm like
Scarf
15
something
minutes
down.
and back
Get
to
back
work.
Yeah. Well, that shows what maturity will do.
Make you work harder?
Yeah, just like you're like, oh, okay, I value the work. I'm like, I see how it can help me. I'm gonna go take care of it, even though I could just squander my time and do whatever I want. You know?
Right. So after the first couple of weeks, and when we would teach my first lessons, my companion, my trainer, would only give me a little bit to teach. Like I would only have to teach one principle, and he'd do most of the work to kind of ease me into it. And so I remember those first lessons being very much like I almost had memorized what I was going to say beforehand because it was the only way that I could handle it without freaking out because it was so uncomfortable for me. And then I got better. I got better really quickly. I remember it wasn't long before I was perfectly comfortable teaching lessons and being able to on the whim just like be able to change. I don't remember taking very long to get better, but I do remember when I was first starting, especially, that I had a really hard time with criticism.
Yeah.
So if the lesson was over and I did my best, And after the lesson was over, my trainer said, "Hey, Elder Beach, you did a great job on this or that. But on this area, maybe I would do this differently, or maybe use this scripture instead. Or, did you notice that they asked this question? Maybe you didn't answer it very well," kind of a thing. Anytime I got any critique, even though it was well-meaning, it like crushed me to my whole core. Like I had a really, really hard time.
That makes me wonder, like, I think, that came from your childhood. You were like that in your childhood too, but like nobody called you out on it, or it was all like from your parents, getting instruction from your parents, so it was hard for you to like take criticism from them. But then I think it was also hard to take criticism from anybody, and you just didn't have a lot of practice with it outside of your family. So then when you went to your mission, that was like it.
And I think the hardest part was I'm doing my best, and to feel like that's not good enough was it shut me down. I was like, well, I just don't want to teach then. I'll let you do it next time, because obviously I'm not good enough, kind of attitude, or my attitude was like, I know that I'm not perfect. You don't have to point it out and make me feel bad for it. Even though they weren't trying to make me feel bad, I took it that way.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to take criticism in a healthy way.
Yeah.
To where, like I said, I got better throughout my mission, and I got better at taking criticism, to where by the end of my mission, I was like, I would sit up in front of the zone leaders or the missionaries, and I would do a role play teaching a lesson. And then they would be like, okay, anybody have some critique, for Elder Beach? And I'd be like, come on, guys, give me some critique. Anybody, you gotta help me out, because I'm at this plateau. I'm at this peak where I don't think I can get any better. And everyone's like, you nailed it. You aced it. Great job. Like, everybody was.
But you feel so confident saying that type of thing when you know you're not very good at it. Or are you just like, bring it?
I've gotten better at taking it and not taking it personal.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, the big challenge. So
it felt like an attack on me personally.
That's a huge,
that was hurtful.
Huge life lesson. And I feel like I learned that when I was in college, right after we were married with James. He was born. He was like a few months old. And I went back to school. I went just for one class, and it was digital photography. And I actually skipped the prerequisite to it that was film photography. So everybody else knew a lot more about photography than I did, but I was really good at it. And I showed my teacher that we had actually been doing photo shoots to be able to get into that class. And she's like, oh, you can skip the film photography and just come in and learn from here. And I was like, okay. But during that class, it was like my favorite class. I loved that class. And one of the things, and actually most of what the class was teaching, all the different settings on a camera, but then it was also teaching constructive criticism and how, like, it was horrible and it was so good at the same time, because they would have a word. They would give a word every single day, a new word. I remember, like, lugubrious was this crazy word that they used, and it meant like sorrow or mourning or something. Exaggerated sorrow or mourning. Or like luxurious. I remember them doing luxurious. And like everybody in the class, it was just a bunch of kids and the teacher, and we would all be like, okay, what word are we gonna use? And everybody would shout out a bunch of words until the teacher was like, okay, let's do this one. And then she'd write it down on the board, and she said, everybody go. She said we were supposed to take 1,000 pictures per word. And I was like, no, I did not do that. I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that and like keep all those pictures and sort through all those pictures. Plus I had already done photography, so I felt like I could like filter through as I went a little bit better, because I had the experience of editing them afterwards and sorting through them afterwards, which is a big deal.
Right.
So anyways, I only ever took like, I think 100 or 2 per picture.
That's all you needed.
But like, then we would take the picture and I would have to go edit the picture, and then we would bring it in front of the teacher, and in front of the whole class, we would stand up next to our picture, and they would tell us what we liked about it, what they liked about it, and what they hated about it. And some of those were so painful. Like, especially if it was something that we didn't notice about our own picture, but that we loved the picture. And then they were like, it looks like, I remember I took a picture of Jessica. It was a musical thing, and she had her fingers on an oboe, and it made it look like she only had 3 fingers. It was like this or something. And everybody's like, she looks dumb. She looks horrible. Why'd you pick that picture? Blah, blah, blah. There's like something wrong. And I was like, oh, it hurts so bad. I still remember every critique. But then on the flip side, it was like, if I was good at it, it just blew me away how they were like, this looks perfect. And I would be like, I guess it gave me a gauge to know if I was actually good or not with the things I was working on. Because then I was like, not afraid to hear. What are you looking up?
I'm looking up a scripture that helped me overcome criticism and handle criticism.
Yeah?
Keep telling your story, though.
So anyways, there were some that I was really good at, like exquisite. Exquisite was when I took a picture of somebody holding a chocolate-covered strawberry on a really fancy plate. And I was like, I don't know if this is exquisite enough. And the whole class was like, wow, that's amazing. They were like blown away. And so, and I didn't know if they were going to like it. Like I was being extra hard on myself because I was afraid of the critique. And then I was like, whoa, that was really good. And then the other ones, when I was like, this is going to be so good, they were like, that's dumb. So it was really hard. But I've learned to try and self-critique myself since then with all my YouTube videos or like with everything that I'm doing. And I think it's really, really helpful to be able to do that. It's a hard life lesson, but I think it's really, really good one to learn. Did you find it?
No.
Oh.
This is in Proverbs 13:18. Poverty and shame shall be to him that refuseth instruction, but he that regardeth reproof shall be honored.
I like it.
I remember specifically, I was in a district meeting with one of my leaders, and he was giving me instruction, and I think he could tell that I was having a hard time taking the critique. And he pulled up a scripture that basically said, a wicked man refuseth to be reproved or instructed, but an honorable wise man will take it. And I was like, oh, whoa. Like I always felt,
be a wise man.
I always felt like I was just being picked on.
Yeah.
But he was teaching me like, no, this is good.
Yeah.
Like if you are an upright, honorable, righteous person trying to improve, you will take this criticism and you will be thankful for it.
Yeah.
And I was just like my mind blew, and I was like, whoa, it just changed everything for me. And from then on, I was like, give it to me. Like, give me it to me. I want to get better. I want to improve. And it no longer was painful to me because I knew that it was for ultimately going to make me stronger and better for it.
Yeah. And
I loved that.
Well, I think that's what YouTube has taught us is like, there's, we are learning what to post and what not to post, right? Like, I think that's something that we learned along the way. And now we're like, okay, we don't post those things, but we do post this. And every now and then it's like, no, we still have to post this, even if we know we're going to have a lot of critique, right? Mm-hmm. I also think criticism from online has taught me another lesson from getting criticism, and that is that you can't take everyone's criticism. Right. Like,
there's going to be conflicting criticisms.
There's going to be.
So you can't please everyone.
Or else you would drive yourself crazy you drive yourself insane trying to like actually please everybody, and it just isn't possible. So it's like, it's weird because I feel like on the one hand I've learned this lesson of I need critique, give me critique, and I will do my best. And then on the other hand, it's like, I need to know what I want in my life and how I'm going to what I'm going to do in my life and what my opinions are going to be, because I know for a fact that not everybody has the same opinion. And a lot of the time they're conflicting, and it's like, okay, well. So anyways, those are the lessons I feel like I've learned from getting critiques. Yeah. Good.
It's good. And I think that's kind of the biggest lesson or experience that I had at the beginning of my mission, was learning the diving in the deep end, being totally scared out of my mind about teaching. But I got to teach a lot of people. And it's hard because I want to go into the details, but it's almost like there's too many.
Yeah.
You know,
it's true, because
like,
that's 2 years of your life.
It could be,
and it's the most like action packed 2
right. I could
years
easily
of your
have,
life.
you know, dozens and dozens of episodes of podcasts just about my mission.
As we are talking about each of the different categories that we're going to start talking about in season 3, which is just our opinions on different things and the life lessons we've learned, then start drawing from your memories from your mission and the lessons you learned, because that's where you got a lot of your growth and like opinions, and like, you know, you grew up a lot during your mission, and I think it stands out to you as the most impactful part of your life in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
And so like, let's just draw on that as we start talking about all of these different other topics, and you can express, you know, how you came to that conclusion. It's probably from your mission.
So I don't understand what you're trying to say.
I'm saying, as we're talking about new subjects, say, by the way, on my mission.
So are you saying that you don't want me to talk about my mission in podcasts just exclusively?
No, I thought you were saying that.
No, like what I was going to say is there's so much more that I could talk about Kearns in my first area, my companionships that I had. Mm-hmm. I think I could do many, many episodes just about my mission, but I think I want to try to condense it into just a few episodes.
Okay.
And that's not to say that I'm going to say, oh, my mission happened and let's move on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I still want to talk about some things, but just know that I'm leaving out a lot of details, a lot of personal experiences with specific families, with specific people that I taught. So I think what I want to focus on is more like the highlights, which maybe without maybe focusing so much on the individual experiences of the people that I taught. Because I had some amazing experiences with people that I met and got to teach. And it's all in my journal because I kept a daily journal. And so maybe we'll publish that another time, or at least maybe transcribe it for posterity or something. I don't know. But those are the biggest lessons that I learned from my trainer. And I do remember near the end of my companionship with my trainer, which we were together for 3 months, I remember he's like, okay, today's the day, Elder Beach, you're going to lead. What are we doing today? And I was just like,
let's go get candy.
I remember I suggested something, and he was being critical of my reasoning, trying to help understand why I was thinking the way I was thinking, or why I was wanting to do what I wanted to do. And I remember it was too hard for me to hear at this point. I still wasn't there yet where I was accepting criticism. That took a long time. And I remember just being like, never mind, I don't want to do it. It's too hard. It's too scary. And he's like, no, really, you can. And I remember specifically sitting on the porch and not talking and ignoring him. And we really butted heads for like the entire last week of being companions. It was like really, we were good all the way up until the end of our companionship, when he started trying to give me the reins, because he was trying to prepare me for him leaving and me having a new companion. Like, he was saying, okay, I'm going to be gone. You know, I'm not going to be here. So let's have you transition to being in charge while I am here so that I can help kind of lead. It was a good method.
If you could tell yourself anything, go back in time and tell yourself now. Just slap in the face, huh?
Snap out of it. Quit being a big baby. But, you know, I just had to learn in my own way. And it was a very painful experience. And there's no way to fast forward painful learning experiences. They just have to happen naturally. Yeah.
Oh, that's hard.
I know. So I honestly think that just knowing that he was judging me made it so much harder to want to take control. Whereas if I had a new companion that had no judgment, no preconceived notions, they didn't know the area, they didn't know the people.
That's really interesting.
It was a lot easier for me to be like, okay, we're going to go do this today. And they're like, okay. Versus having a companion who was like, but why?
I experienced the exact same thing from moving a million times. Because I've always wondered, why do I feel like sometimes if I hit a plateau, I just want to move? Yeah. Like, why do I feel that urge inside of me? And I think it's because I also have a lot of pride when it comes to like learning in front of people, like progressing in front of people for them to judge me as I do it. And, you know, I am afraid of people putting me in my box and keeping me there. And I know that as I moved, each time I moved when I was a kid, I was like, okay, good. Now I'm going to do this. Like this huge change in my life enabled me to make huge changes in my personality or in like who I was.
Because the people that are in the new neighborhood that you're moving into,
they don't know who I am. They don't know what I'm like.
They don't know who you were.
So I can change and improve.
Right.
And they will just be like, oh, this is her from the beginning. Even though that wasn't me from the beginning. And I was taking steps to improve each time we moved. And I've done that every single time we've ever moved. We need to move again. Just kidding.
And so every time I got a new companion or a new area, it gave me permission to change a little bit and to improve a little bit.
And now I think vacations do the same thing for me.
Yeah.
If I feel like I'm getting stagnant in my life or stuck, I'm like, I think I need a vacation. And then it like shakes me up enough to make me go, okay, what do I actually need to improve in my life? And then I go on vacation and come back home and I'm like re-energized and ready to change.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So while we're in the topic of my first area, the first transfer happened and I got a new companion and my trainer was transferred away. I stayed in the same area, but I got a new companion into my area. So now I was like, I knew the area better. I knew the people better. But I wasn't the senior companion. He was like in charge. He was the senior companion. Even though I knew the area better, but he had been out on his mission longer. And in that companionship, like something really bad happened. And I'm going to share it with you guys.
And I know this already, right? Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty sure
I think
told me
you
all
do.
the things.
So he had a very gray area awareness of kind of mission rules. It was like, it doesn't really matter if you get up early. It doesn't really matter this. Like, there were certain things that were against the rules that he would do anyway, because when it came time to work, he worked hard. And thus he justified, listening to unapproved music. He actually had a PSP, which is like a gaming console. And he had CDs that were music that we shouldn't listen to. So he had all this stuff, and he basically came to me and was like, "Hey, I have all these things. I hope you don't mind. If you aren't comfortable with it, I'll put them away. I won't use them. I won't play my video games. That's fine. I'm not going to do that during work time anyway. It was just something for me to kind of unwind." He's like, "I won't do it, but if you're okay with it, then cool. I'm committing to continue to work hard and be a good, hardworking missionary." Huh. And so I was like, okay, that's a really interesting perspective. And I'm kind of this new missionary, not really sure how the world works yet, other than what my trainer taught me, which we never did anything like that. And so I was kind of like, okay, that makes sense. Like, as long as we work hard, right, and we're teaching the gospel, that's what really matters. So if we're playing video games during lunch or after we're done working for the day, like, that's not hurting anybody. So I kind of justified it, and I was convinced that was that was going to be okay for us, even though I had this nagging guilt in the back of my mind that made me feel bad every time we would play a video game or whatever. But we worked hard, and then one day he said, "Elder Beach, I was a stand-in for this movie called The Guardian, and I want to go see it when it comes out in theaters this month, at the end of this month." And I was like, okay, whoa, now. Going to a movie theater is definitely like way more serious than listening to unapproved music as a missionary. And so I was like, I do not feel comfortable with that. And he was like, I'll tell you what, we had a goal between our companionship to baptize 5 people in that month. And he said, if we hit that goal, then we're obviously working hard. We're doing a good job as missionaries. Can we go see the movie? And I was like, okay. I was like, if we exceed our goal of 5 baptisms this month, then yes, we'll go see the movie. And in my mind, I'm like, that's not going to happen. There's no way. Like, that was a really lofty goal. Most of my mission, I think I averaged about 2 baptisms a month, and our goal was 5. And so I was like, it's not going to happen. We're going to work hard. And he was like really working hard because he wanted to hit that goal to go see the movie that he got to be able to film. Well, the end of the month came, and we had 7 baptisms.
Whoa! That's what you call motivation, I guess.
We had 7 baptisms. And so I was like, well, Elder, I promised that if we exceeded our goal, which we did, that we would go see this movie together. And so a member in the area that it was a friend of ours came and picked us up and took us to go see the movie. And it was a great movie. And then we came home and I just felt so guilty. I felt so guilty. And like,
was it rated R?
No, it was just PG-13. It wasn't even a bad movie.
Yeah.
I just felt guilty because I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing that. I broke a rule. And I was like, this whole time, we'd been together for 6 weeks at this point, maybe 5 weeks at this point, we'd been together. And every day we were listening to music we weren't supposed to listen to. We were playing video games during lunch and breakfast and after work for the day. We were working hard and we were doing good missionary work, but we went to go see this movie and I was just feeling riddled with all this guilt from all the bad things that I was doing. And I'd finally had enough, but I didn't feel like I could talk to my companion about it because
he would justify.
He would try to explain away to me and justify it. And I was already feeling guilty. I didn't need someone to justify it. I needed someone to be like, you're right. That was wrong. Let's not do it.
Yeah.
Instead of, but come on, it's not bad. Like we're not, you know what I mean?
You were tired of hearing that.
I was tired of hearing
I'm
it's
ready
okay
to do the right thing.
Exactly. And so I was on exchanges with the zone leader. And so I was with one of the zone leaders and the other zone leader was with my companion and they were in their area and I was in my area. And I just said to the zone leader, I was like, I have to be honest. I have to confess. This is all that we've been doing. I told him everything and then I felt really guilty. And I told him why. I was like, we had a goal of 5 baptisms. We did 7. I was like, we worked very, very hard. Like I told him the whole truth and that I was just ready to stop doing that and I needed help. And so he talked to the mission president who called us both in for a special interview. And we were like a couple days away from transfers. And we almost had an emergency transfer where we were like, okay, separate you and your companion immediately. But anyway, my companion got in big trouble from the mission president.
What does that look like?
He just got chewed out. Like our mission president was very, very, very strict. And I got in trouble too, but it was more lenient on me because I was a junior companion and because I was a younger missionary.
And because you were the one that came to him, probably.
I had the repercussions of that last my entire mission.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Because of that one thing that I had done, I had this reputation of being disobedient and not following the rules. And so for the entire next year of my mission, I never got to be a trainer. I never got to be a district leader. I never got to even be senior companion because there was this stigma on me. Not even senior companion for a year because I had...
Oh, but you did eventually before you went home. Okay.
But the only reason it changed is because my mission president changed.
Yep.
And I honestly believe that.
Yeah.
But that mission president, I don't think he liked me.
Didn't like you.
I don't think he ever liked me after that. And it kind of followed with me. I never felt forgiven by him because I never got to move past that, even though I stopped doing those things.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad. And it was a hard lesson that I had to learn by making the wrong choice. But having gone through that, I learned the hard way, but I did learn and I did repent because I never did it again.
Yeah.
And I would never do it again given the opportunity because it was like, I don't need to learn that lesson twice.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, that was my first area. And then after that, I was transferred out of that area.
How many different areas did you have on your mission?
Kearns, South Jordan, Taylorsville, Draper, West Jordan. 5 areas.
You're going to have to do 2 of them in the next podcast.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Well, that was it for this episode. Covered the whole first area and a lot of other fun stuff. There's so much more that I could talk about, but I think that's the highlights, the real takeaways. Hopefully you guys got some benefit from the hard lessons that I had to learn. Maybe it'll help you guys on your journey through life to help progress and learn those hard lessons.
Cool. I like it.
We'll see you guys next week.
Okay.
Pop the game.